There is a private train, armored, bulletproof, and stocked with French cognac and live lobsters, that moves through the mountains of a country where the average citizen earns less than $2 a day. There is a compound so large it doesn't appear on any civilian map. A compound with its own swimming pools, equestrian facilities, a private cinema, and an underground bunker system that stretches for miles beneath the city. Most people think North Korea is simply a broke, isolated dictatorship running on ideology and fear. They are looking at the surface. Beneath the propaganda posters and the military parades lies something far more calculated. A wealth empire, privately controlled, globally connected, and worth an estimated $5 to $10 billion by conservative intelligence estimates. This is not a story about a nation. This is a story about a family, and what that family has built, in secret, in silence, and in plain sight, is one of the most audacious financial dynasties on the planet. We are tracking the Kim dynasty, not as a political story, not as a geopolitical headline, but as a wealth story, a business empire story, a dynasty story. We are going to uncover the hidden financial apparatus that has allowed one bloodline to accumulate billions while running the world's most sanctioned nation. We're going to follow the money through shell companies in Macau, through arms deals brokered in the shadows of Beijing, through cryptocurrency wallets that Western intelligence agencies are still trying to crack. Wait until you hear about the slush fund, a secret treasury so large it has its own operational name inside the CIA, or the luxury import network that smuggles $650 million worth of high-end goods into a country that supposedly has nothing. By the end of this video, you will understand why North Korea was never really about communism. It was never really about nuclear weapons. It was always, from the very beginning, about money. Generational, dynastic, untouchable money. And the family sitting at the center of it all has been hiding in the most visible place on Earth. Let's pull back the curtain. Here is the story the world has been told. North Korea is a failed state, a hermit kingdom, sealed off from the global economy, surviving on Chinese aid and agricultural output that barely feeds its own population. A country so poor that in the famine years of the 1990s, a period North Koreans call the arduous march, an estimated 3 million people starved to death. A country where electricity runs for only a few hours a day in most provinces, where citizens are assigned jobs by the state, paid in rations rather than wages, and monitored so completely that even a whispered joke about the leadership can result in 3 generations of a family being sent to a labor camp. The image the world carries of North Korea is one of scarcity. Gray buildings, hollow-cheeked soldiers, mass synchronized performances designed to project strength from a position of desperation. And the Kim family? They are painted as ideological fanatics, true believers in a manufactured religion of state power, leaders who care nothing for material wealth and everything for military dominance and nuclear deterrence. That is the story. That is the surface. The regime itself reinforces this image carefully. State media shows Kim Jong-un visiting farms, inspecting artillery units, and delivering speeches about self-reliance and national sacrifice. The message is consistent. We are a people united by ideology, not motivated by money. It is one of the most successful misdirections in modern history, because while that image was being broadcast to the world, something else entirely was being built behind it. Something that would make even the most seasoned financial analysts pause. The crack in that wall is smaller than you'd expect. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It starts with a list. In 2017, the United Nations panel of experts released a sanctions report that was largely buried beneath the noise of nuclear missile headlines. But buried inside that report was something extraordinary. A detailed accounting of luxury goods flowing into North Korea. Goods that, under international sanctions, were completely illegal to import. $650 million worth of luxury imports in a single year. Tobacco, jewelry, high-end electronics, premium liquor, Mercedes-Benz vehicles, pianos. And that figure, investigators noted, was almost certainly an undercount. Ask yourself a simple question. In a country where the average citizen earns the equivalent of $2 a day, who is buying a $180,000 Mercedes? Who is ordering cases of Hennessy Paradis cognac at $2,000 a bottle? Who is the customer? Then consider this. The CIA has maintained, since at least the early 1990s, an internal file on what they call Bureau 39, a shadowy North Korean government agency whose singular purpose is to generate hard foreign currency for the exclusive use of the Kim family. Not for the military, not for infrastructure, for the family. Bureau 39 is estimated to generate between $500 million and $1 billion annually. Through counterfeiting, through drug trafficking, through cybercrime, through arms sales, through an elaborate network of front companies operating across more than 30 countries. One agency, $1 billion a year. One family. That is not the behavior of an ideology. That is the behavior of a dynasty protecting its fortune. And when you start pulling that thread, the full picture is almost impossible to believe. To understand how the Kim dynasty actually operates, you have to stop thinking about North Korea as a country and start thinking about it as a privately held corporation. At the top of that corporation sits one family, one bloodline, 3 generations of absolute control stretching back to 1948, when Kim Il-sung, a Soviet-backed guerrilla fighter with sharp political instincts and sharper survival instincts, consolidated power over the northern half of the Korean peninsula. From that moment forward, every economic resource in the country, every factory, every mine, every port, every kilogram of grain, all of it became, in practical terms, family property. But the machinery that converts that national control into private, transferable, internationally accessible wealth, that is where the story gets truly remarkable. Bureau 39 is the engine. Officially, it doesn't exist. It appears on no North Korean government organizational chart. No minister publicly claims oversight of it. And yet, according to defector testimony, CIA assessments, and UN investigative reports, it operates out of the Korea Workers' Party building in central Pyongyang, employs hundreds of operatives, and maintains active financial tentacles across Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. Its revenue streams are as diverse as any Fortune 500 company. Start with counterfeiting. For decades, North Korea produced what the US Secret Service called super notes, counterfeit $100 bills, so technically perfect they could fool bank-grade detection equipment. The operation ran for nearly 30 years, flooding global markets with an estimated $45 to $48 million in fake currency annually at its peak. The bills were printed on the same intaglio presses used by legitimate governments, on paper chemically indistinguishable from genuine US currency. Then there is narcotics. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, North Korean state operatives, using diplomatic passports as cover, were arrested in at least 15 countries attempting to traffic methamphetamine and heroin. In 2003, the Australian Navy intercepted a North Korean vessel called the Pong-su, carrying 125 kilograms of heroin off the coast of Victoria. The ship was operated by agents directly connected to Bureau 39. Then there is cybercrime. This is where the dynasty has evolved most dramatically. The Lazarus Group, a North Korean state-sponsored hacking collective, is believed to be responsible for some of the most audacious financial cyber attacks in history. The 2016 Bangladesh bank heist saw $81 million stolen in a single operation by exploiting the SWIFT international banking system. The 2022 Ronin network hack, targeting a cryptocurrency platform connected to the popular game Axie Infinity, netted an estimated $620 million in a single strike. That is one hack. One operation. More money than most sovereign nations hold in foreign reserves. The United Nations estimates that between 2017 and 2023, North Korean cyber operatives stole approximately $3 billion in cryptocurrency alone. But perhaps the most sophisticated element of the dynasty's financial apparatus is its network of front companies. Operating under names that betray no connection to Pyongyang, these entities conduct legitimate-seeming business in shipping, mining, trading, and construction across Southeast Asia, West Africa, and the Middle East. Companies registered in Singapore, Namibia, Malaysia, and the UAE serve as laundering vehicles, taking dirty revenue, cycling it through layers of legitimate commerce, and returning it as clean, accessible foreign currency deposited in accounts the Kim family can actually spend. The architecture of this system wasn't built overnight. It was engineered over 7 decades, refined by 3 successive generations of the same family, and protected by the most totalitarian information blackout in the modern world. This is not a failing state scraping for survival. This is a dynasty that built its vault underground, and then built a country on top of it. Let's talk about numbers, because the numbers are where this story stops being abstract and starts being visceral. The Kim family's personal fortune is estimated by various intelligence agencies and independent analysts at somewhere between $5 billion and $10 billion. Now, in a world with Elon Musk's and Jeff Bezos, that number might sound modest, but context is everything. North Korea's entire official GDP is estimated at approximately $18 billion annually. That means one family's private wealth represents somewhere between 28% and 55% of the entire national economic output of a country of 26 million people. Imagine a single American family quietly owning between 1/4 and 1/2 of the entire US economy. That is the proportional equivalent of what is happening in Pyongyang. And that $10 billion figure, it almost certainly understates reality. It accounts only for assets that intelligence agencies have been able to partially trace. It does not account for gold reserves. And North Korea sits on some of the largest unmined mineral deposits in Asia, estimated by the Korea Resources Corporation at a staggering $6 to $10 trillion in total value. Rare earth elements, iron, coal, uranium, magnesite reserves that rank among the largest on the planet. Every gram of that wealth, under the current system, belongs to one family. The political control that protects this financial empire is equally total. North Korea operates what scholars call a songbun system, a hereditary loyalty classification that assigns every citizen a political rank based on their family's perceived loyalty to the Kim bloodline. There are 51 classified social categories ranging from the core class, those deemed loyalists, to the hostile class, whose members are subject to surveillance, restricted movement, and priority placement in political prison camps. This system does 2 things simultaneously. It ensures that the people closest to power have a personal, generational incentive to protect the dynasty's wealth. And it ensures that the people most likely to challenge that power are systematically marginalized before they can organize. The geography of control extends far beyond North Korea's borders. Kim Jong-un maintains diplomatic and financial relationships with Russia, China, Iran, Syria, and various non-state armed groups across the Middle East and Africa. North Korean weapons, artillery shells, ballistic missile components, small arms, have been documented in conflict zones from Yemen to Ukraine. In 2023 and 2024, US and South Korean intelligence confirmed that North Korea supplied Russia with over 1 million artillery shells for use in the invasion of Ukraine. Transactions that generated hundreds of millions in hard currency flowing directly back to Pyongyang. One family. Arms deals with a nuclear power currently at war in Europe. Cryptocurrency heists targeting platforms in the United States. Mining rights over trillions of dollars in untouched mineral wealth. A cybercrime division that outperforms the annual revenues of most mid-sized technology companies. And an entire nation of 26 million people serving, knowingly or not, as the operational cover for all of it. The chessboard is real. The pieces are real. And for 76 years, one family has owned every single one of them. But knowing the scale of the empire is one thing. Understanding how the people at the top of it actually live, that is something else entirely. While the average North Korean citizen survives on a diet of corn porridge and cabbage kimchi, eating roughly 1,800 calories a day, well below the UN's recommended minimum, the man at the top of this dynasty is living a life that would make a Monaco billionaire pause. Let's be specific. Kim Jong-un is believed to personally own or control at least 17 palatial residences scattered across North Korea. compounds so heavily fortified and so deliberately hidden from satellite imagery that Western intelligence agencies have spent decades trying to fully map them. The most well-documented is the Ryongsong residence in Pyongyang, a complex spanning an estimated 5,000 acres featuring multiple swimming pools, a private racetrack, an equestrian facility, underground bunker networks, and manicured gardens that require a dedicated maintenance staff of hundreds. The residence is stocked, according to defector accounts and intercepted trade manifests, with goods that would be illegal for any North Korean citizen to possess. Hennessy Paradis Cognac, at roughly $2,000 a bottle, has been reportedly ordered in such quantities that Kim Jong-il, his father, was at one point identified by Hennessy as one of the single largest individual purchasers of the brand in the world, spending an estimated $700,000 to $800,000 per year on cognac alone, in a country experiencing a famine. Read that again. The fleet of vehicles maintained for the Kim family's personal use includes custom Mercedes-Benz S600 Pullman Guard limousines, vehicles that cost upward of $1.5 million each and are built to withstand rocket-propelled grenade attacks. North Korea has imported dozens of these vehicles, despite a comprehensive international arms and luxury goods embargo. Investigators eventually traced the supply chain through a labyrinth of shell companies spanning Japan, China, the Netherlands, and Russia. There is the yacht, a $7 million private yacht photographed by satellite imagery analysts at a private Wonsan marina, featuring a water slide, jet ski platforms, and what appears to be a helicopter landing pad. In a country where owning a private fishing boat requires government authorization, there is the $5 billion personal aircraft fleet, including a custom Soviet-era Ilyushin Il-62 and a private Ilyushin Il-76 cargo jet modified for VIP transport, complete with luxury interior fittings that would not look out of place on a Gulf state royal family's aircraft. And then there are the parties. Multiple defectors with direct access to the inner circle have described what are called pleasure brigade gatherings, private entertainment events organized exclusively for the Kim family and their most trusted loyalists. Events featuring internationally sourced food, imported alcohol, live performances, and an atmosphere deliberately and grotesquely designed to contrast with the austerity being preached to the nation below. Kim Jong-un himself studied in Switzerland, at the Liebefeld-Steinhölzli school near Bern, under a false identity, living as the son of a North Korean embassy worker. He knows exactly what the outside world looks like. He has eaten in European restaurants. He has walked through Swiss shopping districts. He chose this life, not out of ignorance of alternatives, but with full knowledge of them. That detail matters more than almost anything else in this story, because it means the empire isn't being maintained by a man trapped in a bubble. It's being maintained by a man who looked at the world, understood it completely, and decided that absolute dynastic control over 26 million people was the better option. The lifestyle is not a side effect of the power. The lifestyle is the point. But even dynasties this fortified have vulnerabilities, and the questions that remain unanswered about this one, those are the questions that keep intelligence analysts awake at night. For all that we know, and we know more than most people realize, there is a list of questions surrounding the Kim dynasty's financial empire that remains stubbornly, disturbingly unanswered. The first is the simplest. Where is the money? Intelligence agencies have traced fragments, accounts in Macau's now defunct Banco Delta Asia, which was designated a money laundering concern by the US Treasury in 2005 and found to be holding approximately $25 million in North Korean funds. A figure that represented, by most analysts' estimates, a tiny fraction of what was actually moving through the global financial system. The full picture of where the Kim family's billions are actually held, which banks, which jurisdictions, which nominee accounts, remains one of the most classified and contested puzzles in international financial intelligence. The second question is succession. Kim Jong-un is believed to be in his early 40s. He has at least one confirmed child, a daughter, Kim Ju-ae, who has appeared publicly at missile launches and military events since 2022, in what many analysts interpret as deliberate succession signaling. But the mechanics of how a dynasty built on this scale transfers its wealth and control across generations in a system with no legal property rights, no inheritance law, and no independent judiciary, is entirely opaque. What happens to a $10 billion empire when there is no will, no probate court, and no outside authority capable of enforcing anything? The third question is perhaps the most consequential. What happens if this system breaks? There are fissures. The Jiangmadong, informal private markets that emerged during the famine years of the 1990s, have grown into a semi-tolerated parallel economy that now involves an estimated 80% of North Korean households. Citizens are, quietly and incrementally, learning what it means to operate outside the state system. A generation of North Koreans has grown up understanding that survival sometimes means trusting the market more than the regime. Several prominent defectors, including former diplomat Tae Yong-ho, who defected in 2016 and now serves as a South Korean lawmaker, have argued that the dynasty is more fragile than it appears, that the financial apparatus, for all its sophistication, depends on a level of information control that is slowly, irreversibly eroding as USB drives, smuggled smartphones, and black market foreign media seep through the border. And then there is the nuclear dimension. Because the dynasty's ultimate insurance policy, the weapon that makes any direct external challenge to its power essentially unthinkable, is a nuclear arsenal estimated at between 40 and 50 warheads, with delivery systems capable of reaching Tokyo, Seoul, and potentially the continental United States. The wealth empire and the nuclear program are not separate stories. They are the same story. The bombs protect the money. The money funds the bombs. It is a self-reinforcing fortress that has, so far, proven impenetrable. So far. Because history has a long memory. And every dynasty, no matter how fortified, no matter how ruthless, no matter how many nuclear warheads stand guard over its treasury, has eventually faced a moment when the architecture begins to crack. Whether that moment is coming for the Kim dynasty, and what it would look like when it arrives, that is a question the entire world is quietly, urgently trying to answer. Here is the truth that this story keeps circling back to. The Kim dynasty was never an accident of history. It was never simply the product of Cold War politics or ideological fanaticism. It was a deliberate, generational, meticulously engineered accumulation of wealth and power, built on the backs of 26 million people who were never given a choice in the matter. And that is what separates this dynasty from every other story of extreme wealth we cover on this channel. Most billionaire families built their fortunes in markets, in competition, in industries where, at least in theory, someone else could have won. This family built theirs by eliminating the concept of competition entirely. They didn't win the game. They became the game. That is a distinction worth sitting with, because it forces a question that goes far beyond North Korea. A question about power itself, about what wealth really means when it is backed not by innovation or inheritance, but by absolute, uncontested, generational control over human lives. So I want to ask you directly, do you think a dynasty built like this can ever truly fall? Or has the Kim family constructed something so deeply engineered that the world will simply have to wait them out? Leave your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this video made you think, made you question, or made you see something you hadn't seen before, hit that like button. It costs you nothing, and it tells the algorithm that stories like this one deserve to be seen. Subscribe if you're new here. Every week, we pull back the curtain on the dynasties, the empires, and the hidden power structures that shape the world you live in. And next week, we're going inside the wealthiest family you have never heard of. A dynasty that controls more of your daily life than Google, Amazon, and Apple combined. You won't want to miss it.